The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go. It's the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. I told you we'd be back in a couple days, and here we are. How you doing, buddy?
All right. I'm all right on this Monday morning. Ready for a new week.
The first Monday of the 2024-2025 season. The first Monday of training camp. We have a few days worth of practices to talk about. We have a game that we can talk about. That's always exciting. How much stock, right off the bat, I just want to ask you, how much stock are you putting in these preseason games?
There's only one player that I'm watching for in preseason, and you know who that is.
Who is it?
Number 67.
Number 6. So you must have been pretty happy with the performance after the exhibition game against the Ottawa Senators.
Basically, anybody who's fighting, not just him, anybody who's fighting for a job for this hockey team, that's who you need to watch in the preseason. I don't care what Mitch Marner's doing in preseason game number 1. I don't care what Matthews is doing. I don't care what all the regulars are doing. But if you are fighting for a contract or a spot on this team, that is who you're watching in the preseason, because what they do in the preseason actually matters. What Marner does in the preseason doesn't matter. So that's who I'm watching when I'm watching these games.
I got to be honest with you and our listeners right off the hop. I was having an existential crisis while watching this game because you got the Ottawa Senators who iced largely an AHL team against the Leafs who iced largely an NHL team. And at the end of the first period, the shots are 14-1 for the Ottawa Senators. And the rational part of my brain is watching this and is saying what you just said. It's a preseason game. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, there's certain guys you're watching out for. There's certain things you're watching, like the power play got a goal. Like, you could tell as far as the PK was concerned, they were just throwing everybody out there. They were just like, let's see who can kill a penalty and just putting everybody out there. But at the same time, it's like all the big boys are in the lineup. They come out looking like that. And I just feel like all the baggage that I've been carrying around with these guys for the last 8 years, it just rears its ugly head. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you guys would come out in the first period under a new coach against an AHL team and look like absolute dog shit. You would. That's the most Leaf on brand thing for this core ever. So I'm sitting there now having this like internal battle. It's like, don't blow this out of proportion. It's preseason game number 1. Keep your rational head on. Keep your realistic glasses on, as I always talk about. But also, at the same time, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you guys doing? And I kind of wanted to use that to segue into what I wanted to talk about off the hop today. And that's Craig Berube. And I wanted to read his quote after the game to kind of get us going on my thoughts and my sort of vibe I have and a prediction I have with Craig Berube. So after the game, he had this to say about his team's performance. Quote, "In the first period, we came out and we were slow. We didn't move the puck quick enough. That is why we ended up with 2 shots on net in the first period. We didn't want to shoot a lot of the time, and we were too cute at times. We got better at times, but overall, it is training camp. We have to work on things and clean things up. We have to clean up our puck play and clean up our directness and how we want to play." End quote. When they hired Craig Berube, I think a lot of us who myself included, who really liked the hire were like, yes, let's bring a guy in, like an old school tough guy. You were talking last episode about how the presence he commands and like just how intimidating of a guy he is when he speaks to the media. And you're excited about it because you're like, okay, this is the reality check that these guys, and I'm talking about the core players here, like sorely need, right? And to start training camp, it's been kumbaya, lovey-dovey, like, which is like, I'm not surprised by that. I knew you want to come in and start on a positive vibe. I get it. And he's just been really like, all that stuff's in the past. Mitch is a great person. This is a highly skilled team, yada, yada, yada. There's one part of that quote that really sticks out to me, and it's, we have to clean up our puck play and clean up our directness with how we want to play. I just feel like there's a day of reckoning coming with Craig Berube and the core players of this team. I'm really honing in on the word directness because these guys have no directness. That's the entire problem with this team. They've wanted to skill their way to a Stanley Cup ever since they put this group together, and their inability to adjust in the playoff time to playoff style hockey, a more direct, in your face, go to the net, bang in a rebound, play with purpose type hockey is something they've really struggled to adjust to when the games matter most. And I just feel like I'm watching them last night. And again, before anyone jumps all over me, yes, it's preseason game number 1. I get it. But I'm just watching them last night and what he's talking about, too cute. And it's like, this is the type of thing when you bring him in, this is the type of thing he's going to have to eradicate. And when we talk about squeezing more juice out of the lemon, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, you bring in a new coach, like, what the fuck do you expect to happen? Like, of course, we're bringing in a new guy to change an entire way of thinking that has been forced on this team for years. Like, this is why we brought this guy in. Now, a day of reckoning will happen is if they continue to play their old style, like, and they're well into December, then we'll see the day of reckoning. But this guy has all training camp and pretty much all of October to implement his system. And it's going to be up to the guys to follow and change their ways. I mean, it's hard to really understand what he changed from watching that first game because it was just it was kind of a shit show. Like, that was
it was entertaining as hell.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
The third period was just a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
But it will only be a day of reckoning if these guys don't adjust to the way Craig Berube wants to play. But you have to be okay with someone like he's got to have some time to take an effect on these guys.
I think that's where I'm going with my really long-winded rant off the top of this episode is I'm skeptical if these guys can adjust. I am. Like, yeah. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical if Mitch Marner can adjust. The entire thing with Mitch Marner is he can't play when games are tough. Like, he doesn't know. John Tavares, can he adjust his game to be more effective than he was last year and settle into a third line center role? Like, these are, like, I'm sitting here and I'm going, if you're going to try and get them to play the way that we all think they need to play in order to have success in the playoffs, like, can you get Mitch Marner to do that? Can you get William Nylander to do that? Can you get Austin Matthews to do that?
Yeah. Well, they also have like a separate problem. Like, they have that playoff style problem where they don't play hard enough and they don't score the big goals and they need to score them. But then they also have like the other side, which we saw last night, kind of the regular season side, where it's like, why can't we hold a lead here? Or like, you know, why are we losing 6-5 to the Senators? Like, why are we doing this? Like,
it was pretty vintage Leafs in the sense that they come out, they look like shit to start the game. They fall behind. The third period, their skill takes over. They're able to bang in a bunch of goals, tie the game up, and then they lose in overtime.
Like, if you look at that game, like, that is a really good first game for Craig Berube to look at and be like, if I was talking to him, human to human, I'd be like, this shit happens all the time, man.
Yes,
so I'm happy that you got to see like a version of it in game 1 behind the bench of your Leaf debut, because that shit happens all the time in the regular season.
You got a front row seat to a vintage regular season performance from this hockey team. And sometimes they win. Most of the time, honestly, they win games. And other times they don't. And it would be classic in the sense that, like, if that was a regular season game, it goes overtime, they get their point. They're still, like, it's valuable. They're up in the top 3 of the division, but you come away from it and you think, man, there were a lot of things about that game I didn't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
the goaltending was suspect. The D looks slow. Our forwards are in at one shift. They're not in at the next shift. Like, where they disappear, they show up. But they do score a big goal. Like, they do score goals, though. Like, everyone was on the board last night. Everyone had a point.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so like, I think that's where I'm coming from about where it's like, we just have so much baggage with these guys where it's like you're watching preseason game number 1 and you're just looking at them all and you're going, for fuck's sakes, like, here we go again. Yeah. Like your brain just sort of forgets in the off season, and then you come back and you just watch them for a couple shifts and you're like, oh yeah, I know how this goes. Yeah. I know how this regular season's going to go. I know where they're going to finish. They're going to end up playing Boston, Tampa, Florida in the first round, and it's going to be a roll of the fucking dice if they can win that series. Like, here we go. Now, it wasn't all negative. There was a few positive things coming out of this game, namely number 67, Max Pacioretty with 2 goals. Do you think this solidifies his place? Do you think last night alone, it's like, it's over, he's on the team?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do.
I would agree with you.
Why not? Look at the roster. It sucks. Like, why? Why not? Like, we're gonna sit him and rely on Connor Dewar. Like, what? Like, come on. This guy, I know he's been injured. I know he has his problems, but just give him a chance. If the wheels fall off, the wheels fall off. You gave it a chance. It's not going to hurt you. Like, come on. This guy looked like him and John Tavares together last night. They looked like they were meant to be.
Yeah, they did. And the thing with Pacioretty is always like his speed. Can he keep up? Like in today's NHL after all the injuries he's had. But the thing watching him last night that just really, that he's still elite, the way he plays away from the puck. Guy is standing in the right place all the time. And if you're going to be someone that isn't as fleet of foot, then you got to know where to be, especially in the offensive zone. And that's what jumped out to me last night watching him. He ended up capitalizing on it with 2 goals. He ripped one home.
Craig Simpson was just hammering that home all night. Like, this is what veteran players do without the puck. This is veteran this, veteran that. And you go look at their depth chart, and it's like, I've already seen enough. Give this guy a fucking contract. Like,
I gotta tell you, man,
sounds ridiculous. But come on, Pontus home. Hold on, Max. We're gonna hold you on the side. We got Pontus ready to take your place. Like,
I gotta tell you, man, if you're Nick Robertson and you're watching that game last night and you're seeing Max Pacioretty, Nikita Grebenkin, and Easton Cowan,
you're getting a bit place worried. You were last year.
Yeah, you're getting a bit worried. Yeah. Now, so let's talk about. I want to talk about Easton Cowan first. Yeah. I thought he was pretty good last night. He went on. He got better as the game went on. The thing I really like about Easton Cowan is he does not shy away. I already have him. He's already higher than Marner in my books in the sense that he does not shy away from going in the corners and mixing it up. And that's the thing with Marner that everybody criticized and what drives me nuts in particular. He had 13:30 of ice time. Berube was moving him up and down the lineup. I think he's going to stay all the way to the end of camp, and whether he makes the team, it remains to be seen. But I thought he was fine last night.
Yeah, I think for him, it's going to be really difficult to place your expectations in the right place for this guy as a Leaf fan. Like, what are you really expecting from this guy? Because I know he lit up Junior, but so did Nick Robertson. So, I mean, I'm just watching him. Like, I don't know what to think or what my expectation of him is. Like, there's other guys. Like, I'm watching Matthew Knies last night. I know he's already had a full year in the league, and it's like, I'm expecting this guy to be a power forward. Yes. Scored 20 goals this year. Yeah, I know he falls down 800 times a night. He does some things that are nuts, but my expectation for him is clear as day. And I'm looking at Easton Cowan. It's like, I have no idea where to put you or what to expect from you.
And it's also the kind of the thing where it's like, he shouldn't make the team if he's going to be in a
don't put him on the fourth line. See, that's why Max Pacioretty's kind of nice to have, because, I mean, he's not going to score 35 goals like he did for the Habs 7 years ago, but you could throw him on the fourth line, and it's like, whatever. This guy can just be on your fourth line. I don't want to see Easton Cowan getting fourth line minutes. So
exactly.
I mean, I missed the whole first period. I missed the whole debacle. I caught the end of it, but I didn't really notice him too much. So, I mean, just keep until camp. We'll keep watching him. We'll see what happens. But we're really gonna have to decide where our expectation level is going to be for this guy. Because I don't know where to put it.
I noticed him in, like, just going in the corners, retrieving pucks, not being afraid out there. Like, it's tough for a rookie to come in and make an impact when all the big boys are out there. And I thought I thought he did a pretty good job. Like, I did not come away going, ooh, Easton Cowan looks a bit out of place. That's not what I thought at all.
Yeah.
Moving on to the guy who has taken Leaf camp by storm. 6'2", Nikita Grebenkin. Craig Berube has had nothing but nice things to say about the guy. If you're Nick Robertson, you're looking at Nikita Grebenkin going, this guy's going to take my job.
Yeah.
Big kid who uses his size, has a fight last night. Berube says after the game, I just said, great job. He's a young kid. He has shown us a lot in camp with his strength, size, and ability. He's trying to impress. Uh-oh, Nick Robertson. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Nick Robertson might as well just pack it in for the year. Like,
uh-oh, dude.
Yeah. And I love how he, like, first of all, great number, 71.
Yes.
That's, if I was a Leaf, since I couldn't take Wendell's number, I would do exactly what he did and switch it around, move the 7 and the 1. But, I mean, if Craig Berube, here's our first little coach quirk from Craig Berube. He sees a guy who's showing personality, showing toughness. Could this be our first
Big.
Yeah, because could this be our first like fall in love guy with Craig Berube? Like this is, like he could be the first candidate.
Ryan, he plays like he did on Sunday night. It's going to be a fall in love guy with Leafs Nation.
Yeah, Leaf Nation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like if you're going to play like that, this fan base is going to love you. We've seen it a million times. I always remember when we had Nick Richard on the pod last season or the one before, and he was kind of taking us through all the prospects that he had his eye on, and he brought up Nikita Grebenkin, and you said anyone who, when I look in the height category that has a 6 in there, stands out to me.
Yeah.
So if you can have this guy's size and bring that physical element and be a guy that you can have in the bottom of the lineup that's going to go out there and give you an energy shift, like when you fight in this town.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the fight, you do this to the fans, you're set. Yeah. You're set. It's over.
Totally agree. Yeah. If you drop the mitts in that arena, you're a legend.
They'll build you a statue. Yeah. They'll build you a statue.
Which is so funny because everyone just complains about the fans and how hard they are on some guys. But this guy literally went out and proved how easy it is to win over a fan base. And if he continues doing that, we'll continue to show how easy it is to win over this fan base. If you just play hard, play tough, show off, like have fun doing it. Like he could be a fan favorite very soon.
Exactly. He's going to be someone to watch as camp goes on for sure. And I think just based on the way Berube's been talking about him, and if he plays like he did on Sunday night, I think this guy's a legit shot to make the team.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that
legit.
bottom 6 is wide open, man. Like, I even when I look at Bobby McMahon's name on the depth chart, it's like I'm not penciling this guy in for anything. I know Ryan Reeves is kind of talking about the team after the game and Grebenkin. I'm looking at him being like,
well, it'd be great
how much
if you
get
could
to play. Like,
exactly, but it would be great if he and Grebenkin could kind of alternate, like you don't need Ryan Reeves in there every night. You need him in there for certain situations.
And that's not comparing Grebenkin to Ryan Reeves in terms
of not in terms of fighting.
But yeah.
No, but
in terms of energy and
exactly. Yeah. On a night where you don't think that you need Reeves to bring the fighter element, if you could sub Grebenkin in there and he can give you an energy shift on the fourth line, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. If the guy's got skill and can tuck some home.
Yeah.
Like you pull up his hockey DB. He's been playing in the KHL for Metallurg Magnitogorsk, your favorite team.
Absolutely.
19 goals last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those guys from the K are a wild card.
They are. There. You never know how it's going to translate.
I know Ilya Mikheyev hasn't done anything in Vancouver, but when he showed up here, he was a really solid guy who stepped into the lineup immediately.
What'd you think of 38-year-old Nick Kulemin dressing for the Senators last night? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Can we talk a little bit about this Mitch Marner intermission interview with Elliot Friedman? I think this was very bizarre. This was very, very bizarre. Okay. So listen, I'm not going to sit here and chirp it or chirp. I personally think Elliot is the best in the business. I listen to 32 Thoughts religiously. He's one of the best there is. I'd love to know why they did this and what were they going for with this? Because it really felt like Sportsnet was trying to assist in the rehabilitation of Mitch Marner's image. It was just this whole thing about like they had Jake McCabe in there talking about what a great guy he is, talking about how he organized a football trip that he couldn't go to because of COVID.
Yeah.
Because he got COVID. And I'm sitting back and I'm going like, if you want to assess like what has happened with Mitch Marner, I'll just talk about myself personally, okay? I'm definitely someone who's in the camp of like, I'm pretty tired of Mitch Marner's bullshit. Like, I'm definitely someone who's in that camp. But if you want to like analyze, it's like, why do I feel that way? Well, it's not a personal thing. Like, it's not because I'm like, oh, I hate this guy. He's such a dick. Like, I don't think that way about Mitch Marner at all. Like, my issue with Mitch Marner is I don't agree with his and his camp's opinion of himself as a hockey player. I don't agree with them asking for $12.5 million. I don't agree with how they handled themselves in the last contract negotiation. I don't agree with how they position him as on par with Austin Matthews. He's not on par with Austin Matthews. And it bothers me that he's going to take this team for every last dollar he possibly can as getting 12 plus million when I don't think he's a 12 plus $million hockey player. And you can throw all the stats you want at me, regular season stats you want at me. I don't care. I don't think he's a 12 plus $1 million hockey player because the guy just hasn't done it nowhere close to being an impact player in the playoffs. And a counterpoint to that would be, well, why is Austin Matthews a $13 million hockey player?
Or why is William Nylander an $11.5 million player? I think that's a better question.
Listen, you could take the Willie thing, and that's a whole, like, you could do a whole episode just on comparing those two. But the Austin Matthews comparison really bugs me. It's like they desperately want to position Marner as in Matthews' league or on the same level as Matthews. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not. He's not. He never has been. He never will be. Austin Matthews has the accolades Marner doesn't have. Austin Matthews is the franchise player of this team. Marner is not. And it's just so, again, my second long-winded rant of this episode. People don't dislike Mitch Marner because they think he's a bad guy. People dislike Mitch Marner because he's going to once again take this team for every last dollar and command a contract a lot of people don't feel he's worth. So that's great that he organizes trips to the football game, but that's not, no one is like, wow, I hate Mitch Marner. He's a real asshole. No one says that. No one has that opinion. Everyone's just like, this guy wants $12 million plus on his next contract, and they shouldn't give it to him. Simple as that.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with like the actual piece itself because like every Sunday when I watch the NFL, I see Aaron Andrews do that on like a weekly basis or any sort of like interview on NBC or whatever. So I didn't have a problem with the actual piece, but it was like actually just running it. Like, why are we running this? Like, I don't really understand. I kind of get what you mean.
Bizarre.
It was a little
bizarre.
cheesy. Yeah, and it was just yeah. But when Mitch Marner talks, like he sounds like he's like a 13-year-old giving like a school presentation in front of his class. You know, like there's just nothing like natural about the way he speaks.
And that's
like, he just sounds like a kid in elementary school doing like a show and tell project. So it's just like even more like fucking cringy when you like listen to it. I don't know. Yeah, there's clearly I don't know who's campaigning, but there is a massive campaign to rehabilitate this guy's image for sure.
I honestly, I feel bad for him with the media thing because it's like it's just not. Some guys are just able to do it. He's not one of them. And it's like, it's not. I don't think
any of them are very good at doing it, to be honest with you.
No, like, he's never going to be a guy that like aces a media availability. That's just not who he is. So like, I kind of feel bad for him, like, because he does come off like that. I just don't. I don't think it's his fault. It's tough, but yeah, I just like. It was just so heavy-handed with like Mitch is a really good guy and his teammates really like him, and it's like, yeah, no one is saying otherwise.
Yeah, I mean,
the vitriol towards Marner is entirely to do with how he handled his last contract negotiation, how he's performed in the playoffs, and how he is seemingly going to handle this next contract negotiation.
yeah, I think the whole performing in the playoffs is the number one for me. I'm over the way that
at
last
that price, Ryan. At that price,
I'm
because
I
can tell
over the way they handled the last contract. Like I don't sit up thinking about the way they did that. What's done is done. I know Nylander didn't sign for the price either, but his was just as bad in terms of the way it was handled as well. And I feel like people got over that. I know because it was less money that people didn't care as much, but it's just, to me, it's just straight up the performance in the playoffs. It's just been awful. And he just represents everything that has to do with like being soft and too skilled and everything that's labeled of this team. He's just like the number one poster boy for that. And I think that's why people can't stand him.
If he would never do this. But I do think the issue with him is so, if he came out and said, I'm going to sign a contract, a bridge contract or whatever, and keep at the same salary I am right now, I think everyone would get off his ass. I think that would buy him so much.
Like,
no,
you know,
but
like, I know.
I don't listen. I don't think he should. The point, and I don't think he will. The point I'm trying to make is I think that would show you, like, people would get off his ass because that is the root of why people are so pissed at him.
Yeah, I think them signing Nylander to the contract that they did, any sort of like deal or hometown discount is out the window, because if you're Marner's camp, you could sit down and debate all day long that he's better than William Nylander. I know all of us would be like, well, Willie showed up more in the playoffs, but I'm sure on paper, if you just looked at their careers, like there's no way you can prove that William Nylander is a better player than Mitch Marner. You just can't. So I think as soon as they sign an $11.5 million deal for Willie, this contract has a 12 in front of it, no matter what.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen. Anyways, I just wanted to touch on that because I just thought it was so strange that they just went out of their way to be like, look at what a great guy he is. And it's like, that's not why people are pissed at him. No one's pissed at him because they think he's a dick. They're pissed at him because they're like, you're asking for too much money and you're nowhere in the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
period, end of discussion.
Yeah.
A couple more news and notes that I took from the first preseason game. Chris Tanev can skate, he can pass, he can use his body. He's in the right position. I watched about 3 shifts before I was like, okay, this is the correct partner for Morgan Rielly. And this is a partner that Morgan Rielly has never had in his entire time as the Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. That's just going to be kind of a wait and see. He's past the first test, but let's see how he does logging 25 a night for the first time in his career this season, and the expectation on him being quite high. So
I did mention earlier that they were sort of cycling guys through the PK, not so much with the power play. They had all the big boys out there for the power play. They ended up scoring. Mark Savard is going to go with that unit and try and get this thing to click like it hasn't clicked. But you said this last week, and you're right. It's like you look at the numbers at the end of the regular season, and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. But then you watch it, and you're like, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Or
maybe that's just like we watch them too much. Like, you know, I'm not watching every Senators power play or every Bruins power play. Like,
no,
Edmonton is on another level just because of the personnel. But like, I'm sure every other fan base feels the exact same way about their power play, that it sucks.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But no surprise that that's the personnel group they're going to go with.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye on this as they move into the regular season. One thing I did take away last night is where Matthews was positioned. He was the guy that they want to get to shoot the puck, which is like, yes. Like,
yeah, no shit.
That is like, I could come in and
hammer Willie shooting the puck on both sides. That's the way I look at it.
Did you have any observations of watching William Nylander play center?
No.
It's weird.
No, I wasn't watching.
It's weird.
A part of me thinks that they are just wasting, like at the beginning of this episode, we talked about Berube coming in and fixing everything. And a part of me is like, you're just wasting time and almost delaying that by having him play center. I don't like Max Domi on his wing. That's the one thing I did notice. It's just him and Max Domi on the ice together just don't. I don't know.
I think
I
the
don't know.
idea is it'll be kind of a hybrid thing where when they're in the defensive zone, Domi will sort of assist
I already
with the
hate
defensive
the way that
responsive.
sounds.
Yeah,
It's gonna be sort of a
I'm trying to make
hybrid. It's like,
yeah.
who does
I didn't
that?
think he looked terrible, but it just looks weird. It looks weird
Yeah,
seeing
it's
him
not,
down the middle.
because it's
It
not,
looks
it's not
weird
supposed to
seeing him.
happen.
Yeah, it looks weird seeing him low in the defensive zone. Like it looks weird. It looks weird.
I hate this. I think anyone who talks about this on any sort of media program in this city, they all try to find an excuse for it. Hybrid this. He's not going to be like, there's coming up with ways that it could work. And it's just like, I feel like they're almost just wasting time by doing this. It's just, it's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I don't.
All right, buddy.
You know what? My number one thing watching that team last night was, I think the most important player on this team this year is maybe not the most important, but a guy who could just make the biggest difference for them is Matthew Knies. Like,
oh yeah,
this guy has to take a step offensively if they want to, like, he could really help and make a huge difference if he just if he scores some more goals this year and gets some more points.
Get this guy signed. This guy is an RFA at the end of this season, $925,000. Treliving has done a good job so far of doing what Dubas didn't do when striking while the iron's hot, like getting Bobby McMahon on a good contract.
Yeah.
Like just like and those types of moves, right? Just get this guy, getting Simone Benoit on a good contract. Like get this guy signed.
Yeah.
Like get him signed. That has to be at or near the top of the list of priorities for me. Like as they're in, like Marner is not going to negotiate, let that one go. But like Matthew Knies is I agree with you. Like he's such a horse,
such an X factor for this team.
Yeah.
And he might not be that guy who could score 25 a year. I hope he is, and I'm kind of expecting him to at least 20. Like I know I've seen it before. You've seen him score a couple goals before or make a couple moves. And it's like, I know he has some offensive prowess, but he might not be that. But I think if he is, that's going to just take them to another level.
High end of Matt Knies is on that top line. Big body. The more he's in the league, you saw it last year, the more confident he's getting with using his body.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
got
a pretty
bit
good
of a fuck you to him a little bit. You know,
he's not afraid if it gets tense in front of the net. Like he'll drop the mitts, he'll get in there and start shoving guys around. He's a pretty good puck handler. The knock against him is what you said earlier. He falls down like no one I've ever seen, but that's okay. Like get in there, hit somebody, get the puck. Get it to 34, get it to 16.
16 fed him a lot last night. Yeah. He had a couple really great chances because Marner put it right on his tape in front of the net.
He's just, I 1,000% agree with you on Matt Knies. I think he is such an important piece for this team moving forward. And I really, really hope get this guy. Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. And then like, what if he goes out this year and has an unreal year? Then you're paying him a massive just get him signed, Tree. Get him signed.
Get him signed and pray that this guy pots 20 a year for the rest of his career wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey.
But he's got that ability. Like
that'd be amazing.
That is the upside for him, 100%. Yeah. And I think he's still a young player. He's still gonna have moments where he goes through growing pains in the league, but I'm with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I think we're gonna get out of here now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back later this week. Keep watching. How many preseason? They've got a few games this week.
It's still pretty. Like last night, I'm like, it's September 22nd.
Yeah, I know. It's still we got a ways to go.
Ways to go here. We got
like
2.5 weeks.
They got the Sens again on Tuesday night. They got the Habs on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Then they got the Habs on Saturday again. It's just like a bunch of. It's just Sens, Habs, Red Wings.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see the lineup that Berube ices for the Tuesday night game because all the big boys played on Sunday. So we'll see who he plays on the Tuesday night game and get a look at some of those guys. But yeah, I just to come full circle to what I said off the top, I found that quote from Berube after the game really interesting, and it's going to be fascinating to watch if this guy can get these guys to do what Sheldon just couldn't get them to do or didn't want them to do, or I don't know. But it's just making them a harder team to play against has always been the hurdle it's very, very tough to get over with this mix of skilled players.
Yeah. What every coach in the NHL is looking to do.
100%. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. Leave a comment, leave a review. Do so if you're listening to the audio version as well. Hit that subscribe. Bunch of new subs from last episode on YouTube. We appreciate it very, very much. We'll see you guys again in a couple of days.